Hello Magic fans, I'm Beef, and yesterday after speaking about the best standard cards, in my opinion, from the upcoming Lorwyn set, today we're going to look at some of the best, well in fact all of, probably all of the commander cards from Lorwyn. And I say all because Lorwyn is actually quite a legendary light set. So if you want to follow along, if you want to know, so what I do is I go into filter, make sure not collectors not on. This is in the collections tab because obviously Lorwyn hasn't been released officially yet. If you try and build a deck with it, it won't really work because the cards aren't legal in any format. But if you go into the collection tab, they are there if you know the set code. Filter, not collected as well, and then creature and planeswalker, because on Arena a planeswalker can be our commander in Brawl, and obviously creatures is the main one, and then type in set ECL is the set code for Lorwyn Eclipsed, and then just type T legendary, meaning type legendary, and this will show all the legendaries, creature and planeswalkers from Lorwyn Eclipsed. And so basically there's 6 per row, and so on page 1 we have 12, on page 2 we have 6, so there's 18 legendary creatures and planeswalkers. There's 17 creatures and ochres of planeswalker. For reference, Avatar had 69. To show you the difference in the level of legendaries between the two sets. And obviously Universes Beyond sets are going to have more because they are already established universes, media, whatever you want to call them. And, you know, they often have like 5 different versions of Aang and Katara and things like that. So not many legendaries in Lorwyn, so it won't take long to go through all the, I think, interesting commander cards. There are some legendaries you just won't play as your commander. Even like ones like Grease, which I think is going to be pretty good in standard. You're probably not playing a 2-mana 2/2 flash because the whole point of flash is your opponent doesn't see it coming. They will see it coming from the command zone. And like Sonar, Innovative Third, which you didn't talk about, has the Vivid mechanic, meaning you get value the more colours among permanents you have. In case of Sonar, beginning of your first main phase, you reveal cards from the top of the library to reveal X non-land cards, where X is the number of colours among permanents you control. For each of those colours, you may exile a card of that colour from among the revealed cards. Then shuffle, you may cast exile cards this turn. Sonar is blue and red, and in Brawl and Commander, you're not going to have any other colours. So just looking at 2 non-land cards and being able to cast maybe 2 of them, most likely 1 of them, probably isn't really good for a commander. So the ones from the main set that I'm really excited about are High Perfect Morkan. This will see play in the Elf decks as well. If you've seen any of the early access videos done by content creators, you'll most likely have seen High Perfect Morkan. 4-mana 4/4 Elf Noble. When she or another elf you control enters, each opponent blights 1, and you can tap 3 untapped elves you control to proliferate only to sorcery. Proliferate means you can put a counter of any. Choose any number of permanents and our players, and then give them another counter of each kind already there. So obviously that proliferates the blight counters, the -1/-1 counters that gets put on your opponent's creatures. I am looking forward to playing Bree of Clan Stoutarm in Brawl. We spoke about her yesterday because I think she's going to be seeing playing standard. But obviously Life Gain is one of the most popular types of deck in Brawl with lots of commanders. I think she will be a very good life gain commander. And then the 2 that we didn't really look at yesterday, which I'm not sure will get much play in standard. One is Doran, Besieged by Time. Definitely going to try a deck in standard. So a 4-mana 0/5 in Abzan. I believe, white, black, green. So for each creature you cast with toughness greater than its power, costs 1 less to cast. So obviously that reduces the cost of a lot of spells. It says whenever a creature you control attacks or blocks, it gets +X or end of turn, where X is the difference between its power and toughness. So Doran is essentially attacking and blocking as a 5/10. That's pretty good. And obviously all your big butted creatures will get a significant boost. Now, we have seen commanders like this, even recently in Tarkir, one of the dragons, one of the Baitors, I think, looked at Toughness Matters deck. So Doran is in fine company. I'm a bit surprised we didn't get a reprint of original Doran from Lorwyn, which was very similar. Obviously, Toughness Matters, but I'm surprised we didn't get a reprint as well as a new one. And the other one I'm really excited to play, and in fact, I will be playing this for the first Brawl video this week is Marilyn Faye Ascendant, a 5-mana 4/5 in Sultai, has flying. She is an elf fairy noble. It says whenever her or another elf or fairy we control enters, exile the top 2 cards of target's opponent's library. Then once each turn, we may cast a spell with mana value less than or equal to the number of elves and fairies we control among them. From among cards exiled Marilyn this turn without paying its mana cost. That, I think, is insane. I'm surprised she's only a rare, not a mythic, because elf and fairies are very low to the ground decks. There are lots of cards that produce tokens, and they're usually pretty cheap. And you can go massively wide. So when you get Marilyn down on turn, let's just say turn 5, but more likely turn 4, because you're in green, you're probably going to have quite a few elves, because a lot of elves are mana dorks as well. A lot of mana dorks are elves. So you might be able to immediately cast a spell for free on your turn, the turn you play Marilyn, and then on your opponent's turn, because it's once each turn, not once each of your turn. And obviously then, as soon as other elves or fairies start entering, if you have Bitter Blossom or Bitter Bloom Bearer, which creates you a fairy token each turn, you're just going to be ripping through your opponent's library. So really looking forward to Marilyn. I imagine she is going to be a must kill. Now I do want to quickly talk about an honorable mention that I should have spoken about yesterday, but I missed her. I did know about her. That's Tam Mindful, first year, 2-mana 2/2 Gorgon Wizard. She is legendary, obviously. It says each other creature you control has hexproof from each of its colours, and you can tap her, and target creature you control becomes all colours till end of turn. So this will see play in the Vivid deck, which is one of the themes in Lorwyn. But giving each creature you control hexproof from each colours is pretty powerful. In blue and green, you're going to stop getting bounced. But if you have black cards as well, that will basically turn off a large part of removal. And obviously tapping her to give a card creature all colours means they have hexproof from all colours. Now, hexproof is not protection. So, I've seen people say she is the blue-green Mother of Runes. And she kind of is. Mother of Runes, a really old 1-mana white creature. You can tap her to give type creature protection from the colour of your choice. And then the newer Giver of Runes, it does the same. But I think it's a 1/2, not a 1/1. And you can choose colourless as well. Protection is better than hexproof because protection can attack and block willy-nilly through that colour. Hexproof doesn't. It just stops it being targeted. Still very powerful though. Now if we go on to the Commander cards from the set. So the set code for Commander is ECC instead of ECL. There's only 4 cards, one of which I'm not sure why it was printed. So Ferrofor Young Yu, a 7-mana 4/7. That's not great stats. But when he enters, we create a number of 1/1 green sapling creature tokens equal to a number of counters among creatures target player controls. Now, and then we can tap him to double the number of each kind of counter on type creature. I can definitely play in the 99 of another deck, but not as the Commander. So this looks at all counters, +1/+1 counters, -1/-1 counters. Any other counters, you do have something like one of the Vivians creates a token and you can put a reach or trample counter on it, so count that. But the idea is you go wider with saplings by having loads of tokens, counters, but mono green's not the best colour for it. So definitely want to look for him in 99, not necessarily the Commander. But the other 3 I think are really powerful. First up, we have Ashling the Limitless, a 3-mana 2/3 elemental, and elemental is important. So her static ability, elemental permanent spells you cast from your hand gain evoke 4 as you cast them. I'm not sure, the wording to me seems odd. I don't know why it says elemental spells you cast from your hand have evoke 4, but I don't know. It must be a rules reason. So what it means on Arena, when you cast an elemental permanent spell, you'll get that choice of regular cost, alternative cost, evoke 4. Evoke meaning, obviously, you sacrifice it as soon as it comes into play. So you want to get value from its ETB trigger. Something like a Mole Drifter. When it ETBs, you draw 2 cards. You can cast it for 5, or you can evoke it for 3, that kind of thing. And then it says, whenever you sacrifice a non-token elemental, you create a token that's a copy of it. The token goes hastily end of turn. At the beginning of your next end step, sack it unless you pay Woobug. So Woobug's really important because it means Ashling is 5 colours, so you can put any colour in your deck. But this means you get those ETB triggers twice. So let's carry on talking about Mole Drifter. If you evoke it for the 3, because it's cheaper than the 4, you get the 2 cards. You then create a token copy of it. You get the 2 cards. You can swing in for with a 2/2 flyer, and then if you've got nothing better to do and you have the mana, you can pay Wilberg to keep that 2/2 flyer. So you've just drawn 4 cards off 3 mana, and obviously lots of elementals are in this set, and there's elementals been around in Magic for ages, so you're going to get lots and lots of value from it. Next up, we have Auntie Ool, Curse Wretch, a 4 mana in Jund, so black, red, and green. 4/4 has Walled Blight 2, meaning when your opponent targets her, they've got to put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature. They can't split those counters between creatures. It has to be on one creature. And then she has, whenever 1 or more -1/-1 counters are put on a creature, we draw a card if we control the creature. If we don't control that creature, its controller loses 1 life. So that's really good because we don't have to put the counters on the creature. It can be anyone. So if we're up against a deck that uses Blight as well, and put -1/-1 counters on their creatures, they're going to lose a life. And if they put -1/-1 counters on our creatures, like if up against a Yawgmoth deck, for example, we're going to draw as many cards as they do. So really, really powerful. And but because it's -1/-1 counters are a bit of a new theme, might be a bit hard to build the deck around, but definitely going to give it a look. And last but not least, one I'm really excited about as well is the Reaper King No More. The Reaper King was a legendary creature from the original Lorwyn, which was a Scarecrow Lord. There are not many Scarecrows in Magic. So the Reaper King No More is still a Scarecrow. He's also Jund, costs 3 Jund or Hybrid 2. So for each of those colours, you can either pay black, red and green, or 2 colours. So you could pay black, red, 2 colourless, black, 2 colourless, 2 colours, any combination, depending on how your mana flies. He's a 3/3. It says when he enters, we put a -1/-1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you may put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Do this only once each turn. Now, I'm guessing one of these cards is the Face Commander from the -1/-1 counter deck, and the other one is the Backup Lieutenant. I don't think that's the same for Ferrofor and Ashling, but I really like this, seeing your opponent's creatures when they die with -1/-1 counters. They don't have to die due to the -1/-1 counter, so you can put a -1/-1 counter on a creature and then hit it with a removal spell and you'll still get it. And it's only once each turn, not only on your turn. So if you get him down, you kill a creature with that -1/-1 counter. If you then have some spare mana on their opponent's turn, you can maybe kill the other creature you put a -1/-1 counter on to steal that one as well. So really looking forward to playing the Reaper King, Auntie All and Ashling. And then Marilyn, as I said, will be the first Brawl deck I do after the release, so look out for that on Friday. And yeah, not many legendaries in this set, as I said, way down from previous sets. Probably should have looked at the last, like Tarkir, for example. Let's just have a quick look, see if we can figure out how many legendaries were in. Age of Eternities was the last one. 12. Yeah, actually, so roughly the same number, but obviously with the Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, or through the Omen Paths and Avatar, we have had a huge amount of legendary cards recently that we could play as commanders. So in regular MTG sets is a lot less, and obviously we've gone back to there. And we will be getting, I imagine we'll be getting an alchemy set for it soon as well, which usually have some quite interesting legendary command as well. So please look forward to the upcoming Brawl decks. I really like playing Brawl, and so ready to get into with those creatures I spoke about. Hope you all enjoy it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.